This surprisingly good show, which is a spinoff of the 2022 film by Matt Reeves entitled The Batman, explores a classic villain from the Batman universe, focusing on his rise to power among the gangs and mob bosses who control Gotham from the shadows. Hello, and welcome back to another installment of Film Friday, in which I review a new film every single week. This week we are actually looking at a show from 2024 entitled The Penguin, starring Colin Farrell and developed by Lauren LaFranc. Let's get into it. The story begins just after the events of The Batman, with Gotham in disarray after the flooding and destruction that the Riddler caused. With Carmine Falcone dead, Oswald Cobb, more commonly known as the Penguin, sees an opportunity to seize power and control the extremely profitable drug trade. However, his plans are threatened by the return of Falcone's daughter Sophia after her release from Arkham State Hospital. She is seeking revenge on those who placed her there in the first place, and as part of this, is also seeking control over the drug trade in Gotham. Now, as I mentioned, this show was actually much better than I thought it would be, although certainly not as good as The Batman. The acting performances from Colin Farrell as Oz and Kristen Milotti as Sophia were actually quite good, and the cinematography was pretty decent throughout, although I would hesitate to term it as incredible. Overall, it explored and demonstrated Oswald's character and the way in which he would read and play off of other people to his own advantage. He would also adopt or slip into various personalities as the situation required, constantly wearing a number of different masks while not actually having much that was true to him himself. By the end of the show, I found that the character of Sophia was actually the more interesting and compelling one, because there was more development given to her character, while Oz remained somewhat one-dimensional throughout. But the show definitely did struggle in other aspects. First, there were pacing issues throughout. The show easily could have been condensed down to 6 episodes instead of 8 if the writers had done more to cut out repetitive sections and parts that seemed to do nothing more than just pad the runtime. And not only did the show somewhat drag on in places and as a result become kind of boring, this was also tied to the fact that there was an over-explanation of most plot points. It was almost as if the writers thought the audience would be too stupid to follow along with what was happening, and while that was not only insulting to the audience and their intelligence, it also ruined the drama and suspense of many moments. Time and again, the potential impact of a plot reveal or plot twist was completely muted because the audience already knew everything. It is hard for a plot to unfold nicely and in a suspenseful manner in front of a largely omniscient audience. For instance, the opening sequence of the 8th and final episode is one of the most compelling parts of the show, exploring more of Oz's mother's character. But the final episode of the show would have been much more gripping and had much more of a payoff if everything that Sophia reveals hadn't already been revealed to the audience. It also would have been so much better if that backstory had been in place since the start of the show, or at least since the first half, instead of just covering the final few episodes. It added so much to who Oz was and understanding his relationship with his mother, but sitting where it did, it felt kind of forced into those final 2 episodes. Ultimately, the show did take an interesting look at the ramifications of pursuing vice as a lifestyle. Oz as a man so driven by his desire to dominate that even when another man is dying of a heart attack in front of him, all Oz can think to say is, "I beat you." Just like the Batman focuses on the dangers of succumbing to the lust for vengeance, the Penguin focuses on the desire for power and the emptiness that the goal ultimately brings you. And no, the show does not need a second season. It had a complete and well-contained narrative arc with a conclusive ending at the end. If there is a desire at DC to make more spin-off shows, as I'm sure there is, then I would say keep each one as a miniseries and focus them on new characters and storylines, and leave this one as it is. Overall, I would rate this series a 7 out of 10. If there had not been those issues with pacing and over-exposition, I think I would have rated it higher easily. But as it is, I cannot give it a higher score than this. With that being said, thank you for watching. Be sure to comment your own thoughts on the show below, and don't forget to subscribe for more movie and TV reviews and commentary.